Hello, and as usual, welcome back to On Hold. So today we're talking about advice. Advice. Everybody has advice to give. So whether you are, even children have advice to give. So I'm talking to parents, grandma, grandfather, auntie, sister, brother, teacher, nurse, whoever. I think everybody that you meet normally would give advice, whether you ask for it or you don't. I think when you just converse with somebody and you talk to them, they will always offer something, some wisdom, or offer you a different angle in which you look at things. I mean, I think sometimes I do offer different angles which could be seen as advice. So we all get advice from every angle. Actually, if when you grow up, your parents, whatever they say to your grandparents, your aunts, everyone around you, they kind of like plant lots of words of wisdom in you, or things that you need to remember when you grow up. When you're a man, you must remember you must do this. When you're a wife, you must remember you must do this. When you're a mother, when you're a father, when you're a person, when you work, when everybody just says and plants and plants and plants and gives into you all of these words that you keep. Some of them you resonate with, some you don't resonate with, some you don't resonate with immediately. It might take some time to actually get it. But I want all of us as advisors, because this is for everybody, as an advisor, to please remember that people will get it when they get it. It's not like they're undermining your advice, they don't like what you're saying, they don't get what you're saying. But I think you will agree with me that you only get it when you get it. Like the penny drops when the penny drops at your own time. You might be giving me advice, and it's not that I don't hear it. I take it, but it might not make sense to me at the time. It might make English sense and common sense, but not really land or be practical at the time that you're telling me. Only one day when something happens or somebody says something, when I get to experience that, will I really recall your words and understand what they mean at the time. And that's why most of us will always say, that's why my grandmother will always say this, that's why my mom always used to tell me this. You quote those things in retrospect or in hindsight at the time when you get them. You quote them because now at that moment they make sense. But those things at the time that you were being told were just words to you. But I realize that people get frustrated and they get angry and they get tired of giving the wisdom or advising in that manner, because they believe some people just don't listen or don't do as you tell them or whatever. We always need to remember that it might not land in that way at the time. Or I hear you. Okay, I hear you and understanding makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. But until I experience something, or until I experience something similar that actually brings your words to life experience at the time, I wouldn't say that I got you. So we need to be a little bit patient and don't get tired and don't get frustrated. I know as parents we are the worst. I tell this person this, I tell this person, and they hear you, but it just goes in and out, or maybe they do the opposite. And only at a specific time will it land and mean something to them. They will say it, they will quote it. It has happened to me many a times when you're like, oh, now I get it. Now I get what they meant. Now I see why people do this. Now I see why people always say this. Now and understand why I've been told to do this, why this one would, because at the time it lands. So I think that's my word. I'm talking to myself as well, because I think at some point I've gotten impatient with people to say, but I told you this before, but I've said this to you before, but I've explained this to you before, but I told you to go the other way, but I did hint to you this and this and that, because you would tell somebody something and they would do the opposite, or they would do whatever they feel like doing at the time. And obviously, maybe things don't go well or don't go according to their plan, and then they come back to you and then they maybe express their disappointment or their frustration in the process, and you want to quote it, I told you, I told you, I told you. And then you're like, you know what, I'm done advising. Once they are serious about taking advice, they can come back to me. It's not like they're not serious about taking advice. Maybe at the time it doesn't land with them practically. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm hoping you guys get what I'm saying and understand what I'm saying. And again, I'm going to ask you to share your examples and comments just to enrich the conversation and explain where you probably try to give up on somebody because you thought they were not listening, but actually they got it. They got it later in terms of what you really mean, with children, it's a lot. You tell them study first, boys last, whatever. We've been told a whole lot of things, but you're kind of like, what are they talking about? Okay, you hear them, yeah? But practically it doesn't work, because at the time there's a guy who likes you and you're gonna join, or there's groove that's happening and you're gonna go. You hear them about this alcohol situation, be careful of this, and can be careful of the boys, you're gonna fall pregnant. You hear all of this. Study first, prioritize this, take care of yourself, don't walk late at night, you hear it, ne? And the best intentions in you are saying, yeah, I'm going to listen. And I understand when they tell you, it's like, wow, yeah, you're right, And when they give you scenarios, they're so scary. In the situation, it's a different story. Until probably something happens, or they get it, or they experience something, will they say, oh, now I get why they said I mustn't maybe walk at night alone or something like that. I'm trying to give you an example that is very, very common. So even with adults or with friends or with family, especially with friends and family, because friends will always come back to you, and family as well. Family, especially when you have siblings, you kind of feel like you're going to give up on this person because they just always take their own turn. They just always go their own way. But remember, you, the family, they want to have a safe space to come back to and say, I took the wrong turn, I don't know, yeah, I heard you. And then you want to say, no, but we've been telling you. Yes, I heard, but practically for them in their life at the time, it probably doesn't make sense. Or I'm thinking they probably don't have the capacity to deliver on your advice or to act on your advice, if you get what I mean. Like, you expect somebody to do something that you are saying because you understand it and makes sense to you and you have the capacity to do it. You're advising them to do something similar, which they probably do not have the capacity to do. Maybe they're not capable of doing it, or they don't have the confidence of doing it that way, or they don't have maybe just the ability, like they don't think like that, they don't know where to start. And to you, it's very simple. It's like 1, 2, 3. Look, do this, do that, do that. It's simple. What could be hard? But for them, they don't even understand or know or have the confidence or strength or anything to even take that first step. They hear, and your advice makes sense, honestly, but the capacity. I think we spoke about it also when you spoke about disappointments, to say when you tell somebody a secret, have you checked their personality and if they have the capacity to keep the secret or not? There are some people who can't, and you know it, but you keep on telling them information. When you find it on the streets, you get disappointed. Or I think that's what's coming into my mind, to say some advice we're giving to people without giving them the skill to actually execute on the advice. You're just telling words. But the reality, the environment, the circumstances of the person at the time don't really correlate to your advice. You know what I mean? Like, I did some like kiskolong and this peer pressure and whatever. You are telling me I must say no. Like, do I even know how to say no to friends? But I want to have friends. I feel like I'm lonely or something like that. Do I have the capacity to say no? Do I even want to say no? Um, yeah, I think it's getting clearer to me as I talk to it, and I guess that's why I have this channel, because even for me, it's something that I reflect on. So, yeah, reflect with me, talk to me. What has happened? What advice have you been given that didn't land with you at the time? Or what advice did you give that didn't land? And probably you're realizing now that actually it wasn't going to land with this person at the time. That's why it only landed later, or it never landed at all. Or how many times have you given advice to people and they still come back running to you for more advice, And what have you done differently? Especially if it's the same person coming back to you. What have you done differently? Do you just carry on to say, but I told you, if you just did what I told you the first time, da 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 da, are you really studying the situation, trying to understand the person's pressures, limitations, fears, insecurities, all of that thing? Are you trying to understand where they are, maybe, so that you can understand why it's so difficult for them to act on your advice that you gave them, so that you can probably alter what you're saying, how you say it, and maybe help them to take the first step rather than throw advice and then expect to see it happening. Maybe you need to handhold a little bit. You need to guide a little bit and to say, okay, let me show you how. Let's do number one. Maybe you've done it, it still failed, I don't know. But I think it's something that we can think and be better at. We're very good at giving advice. Unsolicited, mama. Unprovoked. We just give. Somebody tells you a story, you are there, ready to give advice, dish, 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 dish. Do you know the person you're talking to? Do you understand their capabilities? Do you understand their interests and values, actually? Are you even talking to a person about something they relate to? Or are they just go, yeah, you're right, I can imagine, and that would help. At that time, they're thinking, not my vibe, not my cup of tea, but anyway, I was given advice, So I think let's listen, and then let's be a little bit tolerant, but also let's try and do things differently. Okay, my fellow advisors, my fellow people. So I think that's my word. That's what I've learned this week. That's what I've reflected on. Something that I need to revisit and see probably how maybe I enhance this. But tell me, guys. I know that you all have been given advice and you dished it in the bin sometime. Why and when did you realize that advice was worth it at the time? When did you realize? So that's when you got it. But what I want to leave you with is, people get it when they get it. You get it when you get it. No one's gonna force you to get it now. No one's gonna force you to get it tomorrow. You get it when you get it. Okay. All right. Thank you. It's almost December. I am going to have probably one or two more and then close the season of 2023. Take a little break and then come back next year. But I'm still here for now. Okay. So thank you for watching.